Welcome back to another Monday OnlineDrummer.com drum lesson. I'm Nate Brown. This drum lesson is called Wrapping Your Head Around Syncopated Notation. And if you've ever tried reading syncopated notation, some of it can seem kind of alien. But in this lesson, I want to go over 4 common syncopated patterns that you can learn to recognize. And once you start recognizing these, other syncopated rhythms are going to be easier as well, because most are a mixture of these 4 patterns. And of course, we'll go over these patterns first, but then we're also going to add to them, mix and match a little bit, and change things around so we can create some cool sounding fills. The first pattern is a very common syncopated pattern, and I'll start by playing it. Number 1. And now I'll play 8th notes on the bass drum just to give you a sense of time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, a lot of people look at this and they say, all right, the first note's a 16th note, because you can follow the stem up and you say that there are 2 beams touching it. And you know that 2 beams touch the 16th notes. But then the second note, which falls on the E, is an 8th note. It only has 1 beam touching the stem. It's going to take up 2 16th notes, just like it does when you're playing regular 8th notes. If I counted 16ths with regular 8th notes, 1 E and 2 E. You can hear that there's 2 16ths for each one. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and same thing here. Starts on the E. E and E and next stroke comes in on the That pattern just repeats. 1 E and and it repeats over and over. You can actually hear this exact pattern off of Metallica's latest album, and the song is Now That We're Dead. It's right at the end. So that's the first pattern to get comfortable with. Number 2 is a syncopated pattern, and I'll start by playing it. This is a dotted 8th note, 1 E and Dotted 8th notes get 3 16ths. 1 E and 2 E and E and 4 E and And before we go on to number 3, I want to talk about sticking. Normally when you're playing syncopated strokes, you consider all the 1s and the ands with the right stick, and all the E's and the U's will be played with the left stick. It's kind of like if you were playing straight 16th notes, all the 1s and ands would be with the right, and all the E's and U's with the left. So number 2, the sticking, right, 2, 3, 4, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And if I go back to number 1, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left. Which brings us to number 3. Number 3 is only playing on the E's and U's. 1 has a 16th rest. E is an 8th note, so we know that takes up 2 16ths. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and And within the context of the 8th notes, 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and And number 4 is the final common syncopated notation or pattern. I'll play it. We'll get the rest on 1. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Now it's time to start having fun with these. I'll start by going back to number 1, because there's a technique that you can do. You just move the right stick to a tom and keep the left stick on the snare, and sometimes it creates a really cool pattern. So I'll play number 1 like that. You can use that as a fill. Remember the sticking. Right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left. All the right sticks on the low. 1, 2, and the 3, and if you play 8th notes on the bass, makes a good build fill too. Number 2 can work as well. I'll continue playing the 8th notes on the bass drum just to keep that 8th note pulse going. So number 2, same way, right stick on the low tom, left stick on snare. So that's cool, and you could do that with all of, obviously number 3 is just going to be all the snare, and number 4, 1 E and 2 E and. But these take the pattern and play it throughout the entire measure. Now, if you take the patterns 1, 2, 3, and 4 and you mix them up into a single measure, you can come up with some really cool grooves. So for number 5, I've taken the patterns from numbers 1, 2, and 3, and I've mixed and matched them together. I'll start by playing it. And then I'll play it slower with the bass drum and counting. 1, E, and up, 2, E, and up. And remember, the left stick is always the E's and U's, and all the numbers and ands are with the right. 1, E, and up, 2, E, and up, E, and up, E, and up. Play that faster. As the drum fill. I'll do it coming up. Now I'll do it with the right stick on the tom, left stick on the snare. That's pretty cool. I'll do it again. Right here. And you can mess around with what you're bringing out to. I was really bringing out the snare, the syncopated strokes. You can flip that around so that the low tom is standing out. It's up to you. Number 6, I'll start by playing it. And now slower, counting it with the bass drum playing eighths. 1, E, and 2, E, and A little faster. A little faster. And now as a fill. Now with the tom. All right, number 7, slowly. And this is a combination of numbers 1 and 4. You can see the first 2 beats are number 1. Then we do exercise 4, and then back to number 1. And now with the tom. Now with more emphasis on the tom. You can go down the toms. You can experiment with moving these all over the kit. And finally, number 8, slowly. 1, 2, up, and. And now I'll do it with the tom. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Check back tomorrow for Steve Lee's drum beat of the week. On Thursday, Alex Ribchester will post his Thursday drum lesson. On Saturday, I'll have my drum beat of the weekend. And then all throughout the week, we'll be posting new sheet music articles, all kinds of cool stuff. Have a great week of drums. Keep drumming.